Good morning, Acts Church. Welcome to Saturday morning. Hey, I hope you all are reading and keeping up with your daily one-year Bible readings. Today's scriptures were just so good. So good. Every one of them, Old Testament, New Testament, Psalm, Proverb, all good. It's just hard to choose which one to talk about, but I chose John chapter 2, verses 13 through 17. So what's going on? I'm going to give you a little bit of background. It's the Jewish Passover time. Jesus and his disciples are walking into Jerusalem to celebrate the Passover. So Jerusalem would have been very crowded at this time. People from all the surrounding areas are coming into Jerusalem, for this Passover time, for this feast. And so there would have been lots of animals all around because people are buying animals for the sacrifice, because if you come from a long way away, you're not going to want to bring your animal with you or have to carry it with you for that matter. There's marketplaces set up to sell animals. So Jesus is walking into Jerusalem, and he walks into the outer court. Now, the outer court at that time was called the Gentile court. And the Gentile court was a place where people from all different nations could come in and worship God. This was the one place where all the different nations could come. There was a place for just women. There was a place for just priests. But this was a place for all other nations could come and worship God. But when he walked in there, he didn't see people worshiping. He saw people selling merchandise, animals, basically. And they were selling animals. And so this is what he's seeing when he comes in. And so we're going to read this scripture. It says, as he went into the temple courtyard, he noticed it was filled with merchants selling oxen, lambs, and doves. So Jesus found some rope, and he made it into a whip, and then he drove out every one of them and their animals from the courtyard of the temple. And he kicked over their tables filled with money, scattered it everywhere, and he shouted at the merchants, "Get these things out of here. How don't you dare make my Father's house into a center for merchandise?" That's when his disciples remembered the scripture, "I am consumed with a fiery passion to keep your house pure." This was a psalm that they would have recalled. It was Psalm 69, verse 9, that David had wrote some 600 years before. And it says, "My love for you has my heart on fire. My passion consumes me for your house. Nothing will turn me away, even though I endure all the insults of those who insult you." So Jesus had this jealous love for his Father. He wanted to make sure that his Father's dwelling place was for the Father and not for the profiters. So it wasn't a one-time thing or a fit of rage that he comes in and starts throwing things and gets angry at people. No, Jesus was consumed. It ate at him. He wanted the Father to receive his glory. Even at the age of 12 and at another Passover time, Jesus was known to stay at the temple, talking with the teachers and asking them questions. And when his mom and dad came to find him, he said, "Didn't you know I needed to be here in my Father's house, consumed with him?" His zeal, his passion is for his Father to receive his worship, his house to be full of purity and reverence. But instead he found it full of personal gain, people wanting to get gain for themselves instead of God. And so this is what was aggravating him. This was what was like, this is terrible. This is not how it's supposed to be. So he's just wiping it all out. It's like, no more of this. And it was an act of, let's restore this. Let's get it back to how it's supposed to be. How dare you make my house this way, or make my Father's house this way? And so this is what this act of jealousy, this passion to restore the temple is also seen when he goes to the cross. It's an act of restoration. It's an act of radical love to restore us to the Father. It's an act of like, hey, let me clear out every other lover, every other thing that's in your heart, because you were created for worship. You were created to reverence me. You were created to be a place of purity, a pure bride for me to come back and get someday. And so going to the cross was an act of restoration. Jesus is jealous for all of us. Jesus is jealous for all of our hearts, our hearts, our mind, our soul. Just as there are three parts of the temple, the outer court, the inner court, and the Holy of Holies. All of that was made for glorifying God. All of us, our hearts, our soul, our mind is made for glorifying God. So we are now his temple. We are now his temple. And so, yes, but so often, we try to use what is supposed to be for his glory, his worship, and we turn that into personal gain. So our mouth, what was created to give him praise, worship, uplift other people, encourage them, we say words instead out of pride, out of jealousy, out of just self-motivation. In our eyes, what's supposed to be used to be focused on him and see the good, we use it to see the negative, or we just covet with our eyes instead. And our strength, what was supposed to be used for loving our neighbors and giving out of our hearts, but sometimes it's used for our own personal gain. Maybe we make money our God, our love, instead of him. So easily things come into our courts, and we don't even see it approaching. It just gets into those outer places, and it becomes a place of personal gain, what's supposed to be meant for his gain, his worship, his reverence. So yes, when we say yes to Jesus, we become his temple. And so every day we need to have a renewing of our minds, saying, God, today I'm going to glorify you. I want to glorify you with all of my being. And sometimes it may bring us insults, just like it did to David when he said, man, I get insults from being passionate about your house. But that's okay, because it's not about our personal gain. It's not about a popularity contest. It's for his gain. It's for his glory, because he's so jealous for us and he wants all of us. So let's start today. Let's start anew. Let's say, God, come into your temple. You can have your way. You can just have a cleaning day and clean out anything that you see in there that needs to be cleaned out. You have your way, and let's start anew. Bring him glory today. Thank you, guys. Bye.